Good day, everyone. For those that don't know me, my name is Mark Coverdale, and I'm a regional director at Yardi Systems. Currently working with the Yardi Breeze product, but I've worked in the property management space for over 17 years now. So I hope I've learned enough along the way to help guide an interesting and somewhat insightful presentation for you all today, as I plan to discuss how we can leverage technology to increase resident satisfaction, therefore increase resident retention and reduce unit turnover. And over the next 30 minutes or so, we'll take a quick peek at the current residential landscape, as well as discussing what it takes to keep residents happy and how we can improve or maintain high retention rates via technology and other common practices. We'll start today's presentation by acknowledging that in order to better serve our residents, it's obviously important to understand what's happening in the market so that we can make better and more informed decisions. So what we're seeing is, after several years of income growth, we've seen that residential property managers are now starting to face some of those headwinds that include not only the decelerating rental gains, but also we're seeing some real rapid uptick in our own expenses. In regards to the rental rates, asking prices shot up to, in some states, 22% between 21 and 2022 here, and around 12 to 14% on average across the country. This growth was driven in part by household formation, meaning that households grew at a rapid rate during the pandemic, which was then quickly followed by the working from home norm, which forced many people to move as they had to seek more appropriate living conditions to accommodate for adequate living and home office space for each of the working members within their household, along with space obviously for children, for pets, and so on. Now we're seeing that the market is calming down and back to those pre-pandemic norms. And according to many sources, rent increases are decelerating, and in accordance to our own Yardi matrix data, rent growth is expected to slow down to maybe as far as 2.5% as we come towards the end of the calendar year here. And that's for both the multifamily and single family home markets. As single family homes, we've seen that the rent growth has consistently eased over the past 14 to 16 months, as we're now seeing those rent growths returning back to those similar rates that we saw pre-pandemic. Now, lower priced rentals continue to see more demand and thus greater annual gains than the higher price counterparts. It's a trend that is partially due to the rising costs that we've all are experiencing in other aspects of our lives, and with inflation that soared in 2022. But again, now that is steadily coming back down to more kind of pre-pandemic rates as well. In many areas, rents are constrained, I would say, by the affordability of the renters. A growing number of households are paying way in excess of 30% of their entire income on rent alone today. However, we're also seeing, we have seen over 1.2 million apartment units being built recently, and another 1 million already set to be built from now to the end of 2025. So there is set to be more availability on the market for us to compete against. This may cause a future decrease in rent rates, as an increase in supply may put pressure on us as operators in some states, but that impact is not expected to be evenly spread across all geographical markets. So how has that impacted renters? Well, for starters, for many, renting still feels like a better option compared to the cost of home ownership, especially as rental rate increases are on the slowdown. But despite rent growth decelerating, it is still outpacing inflation and wage growth, which is forcing many renters these days to dip into their savings, or they're making larger purchases on credit. And with more apartment units being built around us, many are now looking online at comparable rental rates. And if they do manage to find something that's cheaper elsewhere, they do seem more willing to move upon their lease renewal, or they may even be trying to attempt to terminate early or renegotiate their rent with us in order to lower the amount that they're paying each month in an attempt, obviously, to lower their own personal expenses. So what does that mean for us as we try to increase retention rates and fill vacancy? Well, firstly, an increase in supply will mean that we'll have more competition, as renters will obviously have more options. We can expect renters to be more price sensitive as the prolonged high inflation and high cost of living has taken its toll on their finances. Operating expenses have also been increasing for us, which is making it hard for us sometimes to even turn a profit as costs have risen significantly in many categories. This includes insurance costs, especially for those in areas that are in kind of high risk of disaster areas, things like hurricanes, even the extreme temperatures that we've been facing recently, and wildfires, which have created large insurance payouts, particularly in, say, the Southeast and in states such as California and Texas. We've recently seen maintenance expenses at an all-time high due to supply issues, to labor costs, and costs of materials. And administrative costs, they have risen to roughly, I think, around 11.8%, and utilities and payroll have both risen by around 7.8% across the country. And this is why it's becoming more and more important to get a hold on our operating expenses and making sure that we're doing everything we can to increase efficiency with all aspects of our business. And this is why many companies are now turning to technology as a means to automate processes and to lower operating costs, which is a key focus for many in the industry today. So let's discuss some ways in which we can increase resident retention and lower our operating costs. And we can start by taking a look at the factors that are influencing resident satisfaction today. Firstly, we do need to approach this with a mindset that retaining good renters is worth some time and some effort and some expense on our side, as the cost of losing good renters can be much greater than what we'd be spending if we're focusing on trying to keep our good residents happy. Now, knowing that your residents are likely feeling the squeeze on their wallets lately, the last thing we really want to be considering is surprising them with new or increasing fees. This is only going to frustrate them and make them look at cheaper alternatives, given the rise in living costs that they've had to experience in many other aspects of their life. And we should also be taking a look at the tools that we're providing for our residents, and understand that if we're not providing them with the resources that they desire, they may just choose to move on to another property that do offer them more convenient tools so that they can easily pay their rent or submit that maintenance request, or even just contact somebody at your office quickly and easily. We're seeing that convenient living is becoming more important than having some of those luxury amenities to many renters these days. And it's important that we address this, as today renters do expect to be able to do everything online and ideally through their phones, just as they do with all aspects of their life, right? So, I mean, let's face it, if folks can order a pizza and follow that tracker that tells them who's making their pizza, when it got put in the oven, when it's being taken out of the oven, when it's being delivered, and the name of the delivery driver, we all need to realize that they expect to be able to conduct business with us and track the status of more important items, such as the rent payment and the status of that maintenance request, all in real time. Now, your leasing process should also be streamlined and digital for them. The world is moving on from expecting prospects and current residents to come into your office and complete a ton of paper forms. That's inconvenient for both them and for you. So making that an online process is kind of the more modern and a more convenient way of handling leases these days. And it's become the norm, as is sharing important documents, such as maybe a copy of that lease, Today, renters, they expect to be able to have that readily available for them, as well as other documentation, in a secure portal, which makes it easy for the residents to obtain a copy when they need it and without having to contact your office and take up your time and take your staff away from other responsibilities. Now, communication with your residents, this should not just be limited to cold calls to your office anymore. With today's technology, renters expect to be able to text, to call, and to email your team. Not only are these alternative ways quicker and more convenient, but when you're leveraging the right technology platforms, you'll be able to track all communications so that anyone from your team can respond in a timely manner and refer back to past communications if needed. An ideal system would allow you to even mass send text or email blasts to all of your residents or a subset of your residents so that you can effectively communicate important updates, like maybe some improvement projects that's happening at the property. Maybe there's an emergency situation, or maybe it's just an update on a community event that's coming up, or simply just to remind everyone or reiterate some property or community rules. Now, rent collection is one of the toughest aspects and most time-consuming aspects of property management. This is made even tougher if we're limited ways in which we are allowing renters to pay us today, whether it be by cash or check or credit card, debit card, or via one of the new walk-in payments providers. Giving renters payment options will make your job and their lives a lot easier. All of these items are big to renters today and are things that we should be evaluating. After all, having unsatisfied residents is no joke, and the cost of a tenant turnover on a unit is real and can hit us in multiple ways. Firstly, there's the loss, obviously, of rental income. There's the cost of list advertising, as well as the time to advertise, to show, and to acquire new residents. And that's in addition to the time and cost of background screening applications, not to mention the make-ready costs. And when you multiply that by the number of units that you may be turning over in a year, this can all add up and could be tens of thousands of dollars a year that we're out of pocket. And being on the receiving end of high unit turnover will also increase the chances of us gaining maybe a less desirable resident in our property, which I'm sure you're all aware comes at a cost. Comes at a cost in terms of time, frustration, work, and money. But as resourceful property managers, which I know you all are, or at least aim to be, since you're here, you're part of NARPM, you're attending these webinars. So I know that you all understand the importance of resident retention, and you're all doing your best in keeping residents and understanding that keeping that resident is just as, if not more important than obtaining a new one. For those managing multifamily properties, resident retention not only is good in terms of building long-term relationships within your community between residents, but it also adds value to the property itself. I mean, sure, it's great to bring in new faces from time to time, but it's your recurring residents, those that renew every year. They're the ones that are invaluable within your community. And when we do have high retention rates, that's when we know we're doing something right. So let's go through some particular strategies here and discuss some tools that we can all implement to better take care of our properties and our residents in a way that is scalable, in a way that won't burn you and your team out, allowing you to maintain that kind of healthy work-life balance that we all dream of having, as you leverage technology to help run a stronger property management business. And we'll start this final segment with a quick reminder that although we're here to talk about technology, and it is technology that can help you to gain more leads, to make that leasing process more seamless and help better manage your properties overall, it is important to remember that moving into a new home or apartment, it is an extremely personal moment in the life of that resident. Therefore, adding a personal touch is always going to help get that relationship off to a good start. So creating like handwritten notes, handing new residents a guide to the neighborhood, and maybe welcoming them with a small gift. These are all common ways in which we can help residents to feel welcomed at our property and help them realize that they made the right decision coming to your property. And they appreciate these small gestures probably more than what we think at the time or what we give ourselves credit for when we offer these little gestures. In addition, it is important to get the residents off on the right track in terms of how they are conducting business with you. So for example, implementing tech tools that offer residents that ability to submit those maintenance requests online, right from their phones, or allowing them to set up auto pay so they can pay rent straight from their account to yours without any hassle. These are both convenient ways to please your new resident, and giving them that login information for that kind of an app upon moving is a great way to set them up for success and forcing good habits right off the bat. Now, as mentioned earlier, communication is key. Nobody enjoys lengthy phone calls or those back and forth, tag you're it voicemails, right? So implementing tech tools that allow you to individually or mass text or email your residents is a less time consuming and a more efficient way of reaching to your residents today. Emails, well, they're typically recommended and as a better way of communicating with official correspondence, or when maybe you'd like to add some attachments along with your communication. But let's say there's a pipe that burst or that you have to close down a section of the parking lot unexpectedly. Having the ability to mass text those that are impacted will save you a lot of time and ensure that your message is being received quickly. In fact, I was reading a study recently that suggested that on average, emails are sitting in people's inboxes for anything from 2 to 4 days before being read right now. Yet, on average, all text messages are being read within 1 minute of them being sent. And everyone deserves a day off, even you. However, residents may not see it that way. So when they have that maintenance issue, they may not hold back from calling at 3 a.m. To make sure that you're aware of it. And that's why there's been a big draw to implementing maintenance call center services. This allows you the ability to concentrate on other items during the busy work periods, or getting a full night's sleep, or maybe even taking that day off once in a while, knowing that your residents are still being taken care of and that maintenance items are being routed to the appropriate staff member or to a preferred third-party vendor. Now, artificial intelligence technology, this may be scary for some people, but it's happening. And there's ways in which we can leverage this to help us with our business. Implementing property websites and adding an AI chatbot has already proven to help property managers and leasing agents, as you and your staff can stay on task and even take days off, knowing that your properties are gaining maximum exposure on the internet and that questions to your websites are being answered quickly based on live information that you have within your property management software system. Now, AI chatbots can also pick up on cues from the types of questions that are coming in. So for example, let's say the bot identifies questions related to unit availability. It can help guide that potential applicant to fill out an online application through your website. And this obviously is not just convenient for you and your staff, but these 24-hour chatbots, they are an additional arm to your leasing and your property management divisions, offering quick and helpful information to those that are visiting your websites and have questions, and helping to guide them to get more information. And also having the right technology in place can ensure that you're not missing any important meetings, appointments, deadlines, or important dates, such as maybe property tours, move-ins, meetings with new property owners, inspections, and so on. as well as making sure that you're staying on top of all of your lease renewals and your leasing activity. Now, technology also allows residents to stay informed. Right from their phones or computers, they will be able to retrieve important documents that you are publishing for them. You can also use similar tools to upload report packets for property owners or for maybe outside investors if you have any. Not only should residents be able to enter maintenance requests right from their phones with apps, but good maintenance apps will also allow them to track the progress of the request instantly if you allow them to have that ability. And obviously, we want our residents to clearly see if they have a balance that needs to be paid, and we want to give them instant access to the ability to make that payment, making sure that that money is going in the bank and leaving them feeling good and looked after. Now, for property managers without the right tools to streamline all of the kind of back office and front office tasks that managers need to do, organizing things like live events at properties just seems stressful and maybe even impossible. However, adopting good property management software solutions to help streamline a lot of the tasks that we've already spoken about, that will give yourself and your team more time to create a resident experience that will be hard for them to let go of. On your screen here, we've just thrown up some ideas of events that we've heard of that have helped to please residents of some of our clients. These ideas may be more aimed towards the multifamily properties and communities, but you can be creative, use your imagination, and adjust these for residents that may be living in smaller properties and single family homes. But remember, the execution of these events is only as strong as the team that's going to coordinate and execute on them. But when events are done well, they are a really good way to increase resident satisfaction and to boost resident retention rates. These events are also a great opportunity for you to share updates in person with residents on a one-on-one, on a more one-to-one basis. As you get to know them a little more personally, they get to know you a little more personally, and that can go a long way in improving retention rates as well. And let's not forget, an engaged and happy resident, well, they're the ones that are more likely to be paying online, complaining less, following community rules, and taking care of your property. Now, one of the best strategies that is often forgotten about is one of the most simple, and that is just harnessing the power and of quality customer service and gathering good direct feedback. Now, outside of conducting more social events at your properties, having individual conversations just to receive feedback on specific items, that can seem to time consuming and may even come across as maybe invasive to your residents if done too often. However, it is crucial to get feedback, and it's crucial to the success of the property as a business to get feedback from our residents. Therefore, sending more personal emails with maybe a brief survey on an annual or semi-annual basis could be a great alternative. Being proactive and asking for feedback is beneficial in many ways. For one, it shows that you care and are actively seeking ways to improve their experience at your property. Two, it can keep communication more in-house, meaning you're providing them a means to give them a voice directly to you instead of them feeling the need to go and write a negative review for everybody to see. And three, it allows you to receive information that you can now act upon in your attempts to improve your resident experience and increase those retention rates. And there's many programs out there on the market that you can use with pre-made survey templates, such as SurveyMonkey, or I think Typeform is another one. And those residents that give you great feedback on these reviews, well, you can reach out to them and personally thank them for the review and ask if you could use maybe a direct quote from them on your website or some other marketing material and maybe even ask them to write a short online review of their experience of living at your property, just based on sending out a mass survey to your residents. And for those that do manage maybe larger properties and communities, we have seen some success with property management companies who are putting together tenant advisory boards. And this is where we are inviting a small group of positive thinking tenants to serve on a board that meets somewhat regularly to discuss property related matters and then provide the feedback to you. This gives those residents a sense of ownership and can lead to valuable insight and ideas for improving life at the property that you can then obviously leverage and lead to improving those resident retention rates. Now, previously, I mentioned giving renters options in the way in which they can pay their rents and other charges. Now, modern technology has made it so that receiving payments is a lot easier than just receiving maybe cash or checks and then you being required to make multiple bank runs each month. Today, residents, well, they want to be able to choose if they want to pay with their debit cards, if they want to use their credit cards and earn rewards or points or miles, whatever it is that they have with their credit card company, or even via ACH, which is often the most cost-effective way for them to pay their rent. And for those that don't even have the ability to pay with debit or credit cards, allowing a walk-in payment provider or a program like Pay Name Me, and that allows them to walk into select stores and pay their rents electronically and discreetly. And I would also say that allowing residents to set up auto pay is a big deal. This means that they do not have to remember to make that payment each month. It means you do not have to keep on top of them to make that payment each month and threaten them with late fees. Instead, it can be automated. It can be taken out of their account or the card or payment type method that they have chosen. And then you're receiving that payment on time each month, and it requires very little effort on your side. However, there will always be those old school residents that want to write you a check. I can tell you in other parts of the world, this is becoming more common to not accept this form of payment, but here in the US, we're still accepting checks a lot. But even if you are, I think it's important to leverage software that can allow you to quickly get those checks kind of ran through some kind of a scanning system so that the check image is saved within your property management software system and that the payment is automatically being sent to the bank. And in order to make this seamless and a happy experience, it's important to obviously inform your residents of any maybe late fees or transaction fees that come along with making these payments and making sure they're aware of those up front. Therefore, there's no surprises if they do fail to pay you on time. And all of this offers more convenience for you. It means that you're running more efficiently and operating these kind of routine processes in a more timely manner and ensuring that you are being paid on time, eliminating needs for bank runs with things such as the payments, the online payments. And this just all helps to run your business more efficiently. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate you joining me today. And like I say, hope you at least picked up on a couple of new ideas maybe to help with residents and resident retention, and leveraging technology is a great way to do that. And any questions regarding the Yardi products, either current clients or if you're interested in taking a look at what we have to offer, we'd be more than happy to discuss that with you in more detail.